All right, Otto, one in that previous demonstration where we're looking at the scan tool and seeing why the check engine light was on and we had a P0307, I moved spark plug number 7 to cylinder number 1, and I swapped the spark plug wires on cylinders 5 and 7, moved them both at the distributor cap and down at the plugs, and you saw me check compression. I had about 120 psi, which is a little lower than we should have. What I didn't show you is that then I took the scan tool and went to the menu choice, erase codes, and I erased the codes, which turned the check engine light off, because now I want to see when it comes back where the fault ends up. Just know that when you erase codes, you erase a history, what we call freeze frame data, of when that code occurred, etc., and you reset all of the emissions monitors. And that means that if you have to get a smog test, you're going to have to do what's called drive this on a drive cycle, which usually means about 10 minutes of driving minimum at approximately 50 miles an hour and some idle time and some other things. Anyways, so in order to, I got to see if this problem, where it goes, and then I've got to fix it, and then I've got to reset monitors, and then I could get the car smog. What I want to do right now is what's called a power balance test. Power balance test is going to measure the relative contribution of each cylinder to the power of the engine, and it might kind of indicate where our problem is. And so I'm going to go ahead and basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to start the engine, let it idle, and I'm going to unplug one fuel injector at a time. And we're going to listen to the engine RPM drop. We can get a tachometer or look at a tach on the dash and watch the RPM drop, or we can just listen. Usually listening's enough. With the V8 engine, sometimes when you disable one fuel injector, it's hard to tell if the engine's misfiring. So what we may do is block the wheels, put a brake pedal depressor on the brake pedal, put it into reverse, making sure nobody's behind the car, and that loads the engine a little bit, and we'll go ahead and see if it makes a difference. So I'm going to go ahead and start the car, and we'll do that. The car's running. I'm going to walk over to the engine. And so right here, this is a fuel injector right here. Let me grab my headlamp. So I have a little bit of light for you. Sorry to make you seasick. I'll get this whole filming thing figured out eventually. So here's a fuel injector here, and there's one here. So if I unplug this fuel injector here, listen. If I can get it unplugged. Nope, I can't. Let's try this one. Okay, this one back here I was able to unplug easily. When I plug it back in, I don't hear much, little bit of change on number 5. Plug it back in. Number 7. Hear change on number 7. Number 1 and 3, I'm having trouble unplugging these. I'm pushing the clip and it's not coming off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause and then we'll put the car in reverse. So what I'm going to do is take this wheel block here. I'm going to put it down behind the rear wheel there. So I blocked that wheel and I did the other side. And then I'm going to take my brake pedal depressor, which I'll grab right here. And I'm going to go ahead and put this inside the car. Remember, the brake is that big guy right there. And I'm going to go ahead and hook this. I don't know how much you can see here. But I'm going to go ahead and put this pedal depressor on the brake. And so what I've got here is, you can see it's on the brake pedal. And it's pushing the brake pedal on. And I'm going to drop the gear selector into reverse. So it's in reverse. Brake pedal depressor's on. Nobody's here behind the car. Wheel blocks are set. And now when I come over here and unplug this injector, listen. I don't notice much change on number 5. but I can't say I have a tremendous change on number 7 either. So it might just be so subtle, it's hard for me to tell if they're misfiring. Yeah, it's just really hard to tell, even in drive, if they're misfiring. But um, they actually are misfiring. And so normally what we're doing is, when we do this, there we go. Sorry, there's a delay in the screen. So normally what we're doing when we do this is when we unplug that injector, turning off the injector, we're taking fuel away, and the engine will, idle speed will go down and kind of misfire. And it was doing that, but it was subtle and it was hard to tell, even though I'm in drive. One other thing I can do is turn on the air conditioning. Let me try turning on the air conditioning and see if it makes a difference. I got the air conditioning on max, and we'll go ahead and unplug an injector again. Just listen. Yeah, I could tell. Again, number 7. Again, it's subtle, but you can tell that they are causing the RPM to slow down. That means that if I unplug an injector and the engine RPM slows down, that means that that cylinder was contributing power. So it's a subjective thing if I'm just listening to it as I do each of the 8 cylinders. They all sound the same, then I say, okay, they're all right. Or if I watch a tachometer, they all drop about 100 RPM or something, then I say they're all right. We call that an engine power balance test. On this truck, again, it wasn't so dramatic, but you do it on a 4-cylinder, you could really tell on each cylinder. Thanks, guys.